Welcome back to Use It or Lose It, where I help you get every penny out of your food dollar and try to keep food out of the landfill. So I recently saw an interesting tidbit of information, which is 6% of our carbon footprint is from food waste. So by using up food, keeping it out of the landfill, you're doing something to help climate change. So today, you've heard me talk a lot about roasted vegetables. A recent episode, I showed you how to use leftover roasted vegetables to make chicken pot pie a la king. So today, I'm going to show you how I made those roasted vegetables. Easiest thing in the world. All it requires is vegetables, some olive oil, some salt, and an oven. Very simple. So I'm sure we've all had that experience. You open the fridge and you say, wow, what's that smell? And that happened to me. Yes, it happens to me too. And what was it? A combination of Brussels sprouts and mushrooms that were getting oogie. So I'm like, well, you know what I always say, when in doubt, roast it out. So I have these Brussels sprouts and a little bit of mushrooms that are past their prime. I also have butternut squash. A dear friend gifted me a huge butternut squash, so I broke it down and I cubed it. I also have green peppers that had some bad spots and some fresh onion. So I just want to show you an example of what I'm, the little bits that I had to take off. So you can see here, I had to take off all these outer leaves of the Brussels sprouts. Some were a little slimy, some were dark, just were not going to be good. I also have some green pepper with some moldy spots and just a little tail end of an onion. So those are the things that are going in the trash. Sorry, I can't keep everything out. Ordinarily, if these were not bad enough to take off the vegetables, I'd throw them into a bag in my freezer for the next time that I make chicken stock because it helps lend a lot of flavor. So that's a way to get everything out of those tail ends. But we're not doing that with these that are not in good shape. So I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. And I have my sheet pan, my much loved from Mom sheet pan. This was used to make a zillion pounds of chopped liver, amongst other things. So I've already put oil on it, and I'm going to use this silicone brush to just kind of spread that around, because having that layer of olive oil on the bottom keeps the roasting vegetables from sticking. But you don't want too much because you don't want the vegetables to steam. You want them to roast. So you want to keep that minimal, but enough so that stuff is not sticking. And make sure you get the sides too. Okay, and so now we're going to dump in our chopped vegetables. You can see here, and what do I always say? Hey, colorful food. So in it all goes to the pan. And we're going to add a little more olive oil, just a little salt, my lovely salt pig, we're going to stir it around a little bit and get it spread out on the pan. You want to try and make sure to have a nice single layer so that things are not crowding and not getting roasted as they should. So stir it so that everything has a little bit of oil on it, so it gets, especially the Brussels sprouts, because that gives them that nice crispy texture. Okay. And what do I always do when I want a single layer? Give it a shake. Okay, and into the oven that goes. So this usually takes 30 to 40 minutes to get fully roasted. And what I'm doing in the meantime is, what am I going to do with those roasted vegetables? Well, one of my favorite things is to serve it with couscous. Couscous is great if you haven't experienced it. It's super easy. It only takes 5 minutes to make, and I just have my 5 minutes are up. And there it is. So I'm just going to fluff it with a fork. And then when I'm ready to serve, I'm going to add balsamic vinegar and some shredded parm because that gives you a little bit of protein to go with those veggies. So it's more of a complete meal. I know they tell us that we want a more plant-based diet, but you do need protein, especially when you get older. And since Parmesan is kind of a dry cheese, not as much fat as other cheeses. Okay. Another thing I can do with those roasted vegetables, because I was a big pan of vegetables, I'm not going to eat them all in one sitting, is I can make some of that Dijon mustard sauce from a previous episode and dress it with that, which will make a lovely side dish, for example, for a pork chop or chicken, something like that. Okay, so now all we have to do is wait for those vegetables to roast, and I'll be back. So see you soon. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. I checked it at 10 minutes, and my oven had superheated. It was more like 450, so it cooked pretty fast, faster than I expected. So it was a total of 20 minutes. You can cook at 400, but then you run the risk of some parts, the Brussels sprouts getting too brown and so forth. So we're going to take it out, see how it all came out. And it's perfect. So the butternut squash is fully cooked. We have a nice little bit of char on our Brussels sprouts and our onions and our green peppers, and the oogie mushrooms kind of dried out a bit. So now all we have left to do is enjoy it. So I'm going to scrape some of this into my couscous. I cut it in half. I didn't need all that I made, so I have some for the second batch after I make a serving here. You see, not sticking to the pan because we had done a good job of oiling it a bit. And you can see, oh, it's so beautiful and roasty. And now we dress it with a little bit of balsamic vinegar. I like to keep mine in a squirt bottle for convenience. You can also add balsamic vinegar before you roast it, because then it gets a bit caramelized and adds a whole nother layer of flavor, kind of a sweetness. As we know, balsamic vinegar is on the sweet side, even though it is tart and it is a vinegar. And now we're going to sprinkle on some grated Parmesan. And there you have it, our lovely roasted vegetables dressed with a little bit of balsamic and topped with some Parmesan cheese, a tasty side dish, or even, as I'm going to have it right now, for lunch. So that's it for today. See you next time. Bye.